house yet. Let's see if there he is. So let me go and connect Matt. So we're waiting for Matt Helders. He's in the house. Here he comes. Whoa!
Success.
Good evening to me. Good morning to you.
Yeah, can you tell by my face?
I could tell by your hair.
Yeah, well, I think you had last laugh with the quarantine hair.
Well, is this what's going on? This is like
Nothing I can do.
You're just going for it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna like. This is just where I left it. Yeah.
What last night or this morning?
Yeah, no, I mean, I get the best results if I just wake up and leave it like this.
Well, you're looking good. It's good
Thank
to
you.
see you, Matt.
You too.
So before we get into the nitty gritty of it all, let's just double check how are you coping out there? What's going on there?
I'm fine. I mean, it could be a worse place to be stuck. Obviously, I'm fortunate to be able to go outside quite a bit here. I mean, it's still like you people are staying in, and people are like, if you go out wearing a mask and all that, but it's not bad. Yeah, I mean, I've got the good thing is just before it like got a bit more strict, I managed to get a drum kit in here, so there's no excuse now. I practiced. It's the first time I've ever practiced.
Oh, good. I'm pleased to hear it. So those hands are coming on nicely now.
Yeah. No excuses.
Are you up at the place that I came up to?
No, but it's not far from there.
It's in that location.
Yeah.
So I guess the family all okay? Everyone's okay?
Yeah. Everyone's safe, yeah.
And your mum and dad are still back home in Sheffield?
They're there, yeah. My dad's doing like using his daily exercise to just run for as long as he can, I think. Just to make the most of it.
Well, it's great that you took the time, and as I was saying at the beginning, what's been real positive about this, I set these up 6 weeks ago. I'd never ever done an Instagram live.
No, yeah, it's my first time as well. Yeah.
It is your first time, is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was, but it's funny because I've actually had to talk through a lot of drummers. I didn't need to do it to you. You knew you worked it out.
Oh, like how to do it, yeah.
I've had to phone them up the day before, FaceTime them, work it all out. And that's what's so good about the drum community, because, you know, unfortunately, we've all got a lot of time on our hands, but we can use this as a positive. In fact, I've just looked at the screen at the top, which I never look at, and there's 878 people in here at the moment.
A lot of eyes on it.
Well, there is. So I'm not too sure if it's me they've come to see or you. I'm not convinced yet. So we're waiting to see. No, but seriously, so I do appreciate you guys coming in. It also shows that we're all trying to do our bit. You know, we do know how serious this is, but we've got to try and turn this into a positive. So let's start with something. First of all, I don't know if you saw any of the posts that I put up, but I've had quite a few messages about this. Quite a few years ago, do you remember the split head?
About your head injury, yeah.
So various people have actually sent me messages to say, man, have you hurt your head? And I was like, no. So you remember that?
Yeah. I remember the unruly boot.
So we're just for those that don't know, but Matt was my saviour. Whether he knew he was or not, but unfortunately I was in LA and I picked Matt up. We'd been somewhere, and the hire car, the boot came down and split my head open, and it was about, I think it was probably about 5 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I think you insisted that I went to the hospital, and I was like, no, I'm not going to the hospital, because the next day I was going up to see Hal Blaine. And so you used your boxing tricks, and I think we smothered it in Vaseline, and unfortunately tried to keep me awake for the next however many hours.
Patched it up. Yeah.
So I owe you one there. You know, but every time I put that photo up now, obviously people, and I linked your name to it, so it was linked.
Yeah, no, it looks pretty dramatic. Yeah.
It does, but it was linked to you, and I don't know if I ever told you the story, but the next day when I drove up to Hal Blaine and he saw the state of my cut, he stitched it up at his house.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, it takes a village.
So that injury's got quite a few. So are you still doing your boxing?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, I mean, now it's been a while, but like on a bag and all that. I've trained with someone fairly recently, but I just do it on my own, like with a heavy bag kind of thing.
Okay, so do you know the boxer out there that trains a lot of guys, Tony Jeffries?
Is he English?
Yes.
In Santa Monica?
Yes.
I've never met him, but I've seen him on here actually, like doing
Well, I'll connect you. I'll connect you away from here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got to get through to some of these questions because, like I said, I know a lot about you. I think we've not probably known each other since. So, what was the year of the second album?
Probably 2008, maybe.
Wow.
Was
so
it?
we have known each other since it. So you did the Enemy.
I might be wrong with that. Enemy Tour was first album though. That one.
Yeah. And that's how you first got. I think that's when we first connected, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was through Mystery Jets, through Capel.
That's right. Yeah. So
they were on that tour. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got some real random questions. I've got a lot of questions here. I'm not going to get through them all. I'm not going to go repeat the questions, but here we go. So the first question has come from Ollie, and he wants to know what is always on your rider.
What's always on it? I mean, I think the easy answer is probably beer, because that's the consistent thing. Because we do change it every time. Like, that's one of the exciting parts, which I don't know if that's a good thing, where you get like the beginning of a year or touring or whatever. It's like, is there anything you want to change from last time, or do you want to keep it the same? But that's the consistent thing, beer, or I like Scotch, so that's a fairly consistent one for me. Okay, but what happens when you're not working with the Arctic Monkeys and you're doing your other gigs? What about then? Do you still keep the same thing? Yeah, I suppose when we did the Iggy stuff, I think in terms of drinks, then I think tequila probably was the drink of choice for everybody there. So it was always alcoholic beverage. Well, I was going to say that's the common denominator on the rider. Maybe like Haribo or something like that. Okay. Nothing wild though. Never Yorkshire tea. Well, yeah. In fact, yeah. If there's always it's always specified that it's Yorkshire tea. Yeah. I know that when I came to your house last time, I was served Yorkshire tea. You do have a large collection of Yorkshire tea in the house. Yeah, there's some in here now as well. Yeah. Okay, so a question you probably get asked a lot, and I don't even know if you can answer this. What's your favourite Arctic Monkeys album? I don't know actually. I mean, it's hard because sometimes I just go for like, every time you make one, like you want that to be your favorite, or you feel like you've done the job if that's your favorite. And then it depends, like, then playing it live sort of like changes that a bit. And some songs are more fun to play than others, and it's not always what I expect when we're recording it, which ones turn out. But I did recently listen to Humbug again, like start to finish, and I know that one sort of like split the crowd a little bit. There's some things on there that I think were just important that we did, and that's like a fun one to listen to. And those songs are like quite fun to play because it was just like, that was like an opportunity for us to do something different, you know. I think. What do you think was the this isn't a question that's come in, this is from me. What do you think was one of the hardest albums for you to record, as for you personally, for any adjustments you made? Or probably, I mean, probably the last one, even though the thing is like a lot of, you know, I've like spoke to people about this before and other drummers and stuff, and as a drummer, that album, like, to the naked eye just seems quite like mellow and tame, obviously. But I find that more difficult sometimes, just like the intricacies of like a groove and ghost notes, and like trying to do a groove with 16ths, for example, was something I hadn't really like worked on a lot. And the fact we recorded all that live, sometimes with like 9 people and to tape, so like it was more a question of like getting it right. Like that's what's difficult to me, like getting a good take, I suppose, like start to finish, and then making sure everybody else did as well. But yeah, I find it more difficult to, that's probably restraint, you know, like early on with the band, I'd make it like my primary like concern to make a beat up that I hadn't heard before, or like this needs to, like I can't just play a groove, like I need to play something that's inventive and original. But I mean, you run out of ideas, and then also you go too far and it just becomes about you, and it's not, you know, right for the song or whatever. So I think the last one, in terms of intricacies that were subtle, like being subtle, made it difficult.
Did you find that you had to, I mean, where did you get your inspirations from when you approached that album? Did you have to listen to other bands, other drummers? I know you talked about Pete Thomas before, being, you know, listening to Pete play and.
Yeah, well, I mean, because that time on AM, he was sort of involved at the beginning, because that's when I broke my hand and he like sat in for us.
I thought that was a secret, but anyway, that's fine.
No, I mean, he sort of kept time while the others carried on writing, and I was there, and then I went and recorded. Once I was healed, I recorded drum stuff.
No, I thought you breaking your hand was the secret, man.
Oh, the secret to success, I think. But this time, I mean, we listened to a lot of I listened to like Earl Palmer records, you know, anything that he was on, and I think that's the kind of thing that, I mean, for me, it's like, it's also a question of admitting that like I'm not that, you know, like as much as I want to be able to do those, like the way someone like that plays, you have to be also realistic about what like your strengths are. And for me, taking influence from that is great, and that's important as well. But yeah, like with this kind of record, I think it was people like that influenced me to play sort of like disciplined, and it's like people who know are impressed by it. Yeah, you know. Yeah, in a way.
It was my favourite album, and I know that I've said this to you before. And when I came to see it at the O2, and I've seen the band obviously lots of times, but I saw that band. I saw it at the O2, 18,000 people, pretty minimalistic set, and I think it's the most I've seen an audience involved in a band.
Oh yeah.
And like you say, plenty of space, and I've got to say, I was really, I mean, I've told you this before, but I was really impressed with you doing that, you know, because your journey to get to that. And as you said, sometimes taking all the notes away is harder than putting all the notes in there.
Yeah. And then like you said, that reminded me, you face that challenge again when you try and do it live as well, because there is a lot of space sometimes, and trying not to rush through things when you're playing live is obviously a bit of a challenge as well. And especially with that, like some of those songs relied on being the right tempo and being like feeling like they do on the record, whereas first couple of albums, the whole point was like energy, and like some of them they didn't like lose any quality by being too fast. Yeah,
but it was quite impressive how the hardcore audience that have been with you all those years adapted to those albums as well.
No, it's amazing. I mean, I suppose we like didn't expect that either, really. Like it's always like a bit of a risk when you do something different, but you also hope that like those people are sort of coming along with you on the journey, you know. And there's probably a lot of people that think like us or have similar tastes to us that just it made sense to them.
Yeah, well, I remember, you know, the first album, the first gigs I think I came along to, maybe Ali Pali, you know, it was a mosh pit. There was beer flying everywhere, you know, and then, like I said, seeing you years later at the O2, it almost was, it's the same audience, but I mean, there was a little mosh pit when you did those old songs, but everyone sort of adapted to what you were doing, and you know, and it shows how good a band is when they can hold an audience, especially that amount of people. Big venue, no light show as such. You know, I think you had if I remember rightly, you just had a lighting that was pulling up and down.
UFO that comes down, yeah,
and that was about it. And I thought it was brilliant. It actually comes around. I've got to find the question, but somebody sent in a question, and asking, and I do apologise to the person that sent this in. And I haven't got your name. Did you end up towards the end on those last albums playing the gigs live to a clique, or do you still keep them live?
No, I have my own, sometimes I have my own like clique that nobody else hears that I just do to start at the right tempo, and then I usually take it out. Some of them, like when we play 4 out of 5, I used to keep, towards the end I used to keep that in, because it's just basically I wanted it to sound like it's a loop, kind of like a sampled beat, because it don't really move around much until the end. So, but it's more like, it's just the thing I have next to me that if I feel like it, I'll put it in to make, like if we've just played something fast and then I need to play the slow one, and it's important that I get it right, I just use it for accounting sometimes.
Right, okay. Okay, a question from Simon. Your favourite track to play live on the last tour?
Oh yeah. Let me think. Depending on what mood I'm in, Brainstorm is still a lot of fun.
Okay.
Hence what the day before was like. But then some of the new ones, like I enjoy playing Tranquility Bass, and the song, not obviously from that album, and a lot of it came down because last time I think it felt more like a show than we'd ever had before. Like we'd thought about like when that light comes down and when things move a little bit, and even though it's really like minimal still, they felt more like moments, and that sort of contributed to it as well. Like what everyone was doing, not just like me on drums. But yeah, that and 4 out of 5 was fun because it's like it's an exciting way to start a show, even though it's like, again, I'm mostly just sitting there doing the same thing for a few minutes until the end, and I get like some fills. But yeah, I think like it depends. Yeah, I mean the fun ones are where you get to show off a little bit, obviously. But
yeah,
not everyone cares about that.
So did you? Because Brainstorm we've discussed over the years. In fact, I think that was the first time we actually had contacts.
Yeah.
Do you find over the years that you've so first of all, coming out of when you recorded Brainstorm to actually performing it live,
yeah,
how much work did you have to put in to be able to perform that live?
It is weird because every time we like start to rehearse for a tour or something, I listen to it and forget how fast it was, and I was like, why did we do that? And when we recorded it, we did it to a click. Yeah, no, and we did it to a click and in the studio, and it was like 165 BPM or something. And I remember thinking, oh, okay, that bit's fine, the tom bits, but then after a while of doing like the 16th hi-hats, I'm just like, why did I do this? Like, and I think, you know, like when John Bonham started having a bigger rack tom because it was easier to get there when he got bigger and older. I don't know what my version of the bigger rack tom's going to be for that song. It's just like there's no way of getting around it. I just have to be able to do that for, you know. And I think I just make more an effort building up to it, you know, and like train a bit more before.
So do you find it easier now? On the last tour, did you find it easier when you did that?
Yeah, like I think by like a couple of months into the tour, like getting like when I'm like gig fit, because as much as we rehearse, I never play like to the intensity as you do live. And I'm not like, it's like when you train for a marathon, you never like do the marathon until the day or whatever. But so I'm not saying that like I run marathons, by the way. No. I've just heard people say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it sort of gets easier, and by the end of it, it's like it's one of them ones where like the more relaxed I am, the easier it is. But in a way, like relying on the technique that I neglected for years.
Okay, so obviously, for those that don't know, you've now got the Arctics have got a studio in LA or in America now, and so how's your writing process changed over the years?
Well, the thing is now we just sort of had a place here for a period of time while we were doing that album, so it's not like a permanent thing. At the moment, it's obviously a bit different. Specifically now, I mean, because I'm the only one here at the moment. And
well, just to let you know, Matt, Alex is actually in here as well at the moment. I guess he's with somebody because they've just come in and said that he's with. So I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know who's come on here, but anyway, but
yeah. Well, if he's listening, no, I've got like a setup here where I can like record stuff and send stuff back and forth, and we're sort of doing that at the moment because there's no real like idea of what's going to happen, obviously, like for everyone, and like everything sort of moved in what we had in our minds that was I mean, nothing was planned like that far ahead anyway, but it's sort of, obviously it changes how you think about things, and it gives you more time in a way, but that can be bad too. So it's the way we write at the moment is we sort of just send ideas around and see what each other think of them.
Okay.
And yeah, and we usually, like when we decide we're going to record or whatever, we have a few weeks just us sort of in a room, and then we got studio.
So you haven't got the studio in LA at the moment?
No, we rented it long term to do AM, and then because we like moving around a bit, and because last time we went to France instead. Yeah.
Okay. What's your? This is from Jack, who's a fellow Sheffield drummer, and the reason he started playing the drums was because of you. In fact, I know this kid, and he's a very good drummer. But anyway, he was one of the Young Drummer of the Year finalists this year, which you judged a few years back, didn't you? Okay, so what's your favourite memory from the early days?
I think, like, I suppose, like, some of the milestones are like, I mean, they're really obvious, probably, but like, I think something we didn't think would affect us as much as it did was the first single, like when it went to #1, because it's not something we considered. Not that we didn't consider it important, I just didn't think that was our world, really, because we were just like, it didn't really correspond with what else was happening. We were still playing like good sized gigs, but you know, like still on we weren't like world tour or anything. And it was a genuine surprise. Like we avoided listening to the midweeks and all that, you know, like obviously like you can find out basically if you're going to be #1 by Wednesday, usually, unless something wild happens. But we like didn't listen. We waited to listen to it on radio with all like our friends and family. And we were just in like the pub where we grew up. And so that was like a genuine like moment of like, you know, shock, and remains a good memory. And then it's just like all those like milestones where things drastically changed, and like playing Glastonbury the first time and doing like our own big shows. Because what I like forget sometimes when we did like Lancashire Cricket Ground, we had it was like Supergrass, The Coral, Amy Winehouse, and it was like all for our show. And it was just like, when I think about that, it's just a bit mad. And some of the things I don't realize until I look back, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, even like the first gig, I suppose, remains like a good memory. However, like strange it was.
Okay, so I like I said, I've got to know you quite well over the years, and I mean, none of us like media anyway, but I've always hated the way that sometimes the media portray particular people, and they always betray. I always felt that they betrayed you guys as like, you know, trying to be the nasty boys or the which is so. I mean, all of you guys you're very humble. You're very nice guys and feet to your ground, but you never. Is that what was the brief about the way that you were betrayed and the way that you came over, or wasn't there?
I don't know. I think for us it was early on. They didn't really have. We didn't like give them much to say, probably, and not through it for any particular reason other than, for us, the idea of being like famous or recognized was a scary thing, or like not the reason we did it. So for as long as we could, we didn't do like the press, like all the press we could have done, and some of it's obviously unavoidable, and maybe because we said no to certain things, they made their own version up. And I mean, there are times where we probably like misbehaved a bit, and then they just ran with that, and that was us. But yeah, I don't know. I think for us it was important that people don't know too much about us, especially like personally, on a personal level. Which also was fortunate, like when it all happened for us, first record and all that, it was still relatively easy to remain like that way. I mean, it even is now. Like I'm the only one who has like Instagram or whatever, and it's just photography. It's not like what I had for dinner or whatever.
No, which is great, by the way. Your photography, and it's getting much better. Your photography is definitely getting there. Okay, I've got a couple more drumming questions for you. This is from the great drummer Johnny Bristow, who said, "What's it like working with Josh?
Yeah,
and how did it feel to be chosen for his other projects after, obviously?"
It was. It's great. Yeah, I mean, first time was when we did our album Humbug, and we just got introduced to like a different world, really, and we came out to LA. We went to Joshua Tree for the first time, and saw a different side of recording in general, like, and the way like the process was slightly different to what we'd done before, and getting over the fact that we were like fans of his as well, and just becoming like obviously now friends, but then it was still like like establishing what that relationship was going to be like. And none of us knew. Like we sort of started out that record thinking we'll just do a few songs and see what it's like, and if it works out, then it's great. And it did, obviously. And it was something like when you, for me as a drummer, like getting a compliment from him sort of meant a lot because of the people he usually works with. And which then, like, if I go forward to the Iggy stuff, that sort of meant even more because he sort of has his pick of any drummer in a way. Like, no one's going to say no to that. And based on who he usually works with and the level he's used to, I was obviously a bit surprised and also, you know, like over the moon about that.
I mean, we've discussed this before, but I think the recording process for drums when you worked with Josh on the first Monkeys album you did with him was completely different. I mean, tell people a little bit more about the way that he wanted to record the drums.
Well, he likes, I think he's sort of found ways of getting the sound he wants, and I'd like read stuff about it before, about like doing a take where there's no cymbals and then doing a take of just cymbals. And so all that kind of stuff was new for us because we very much, like, before that just sort of press record and do it all together and just do it until we had a good take. And just because we saw ourselves like as a live band and we were good at that, and we'd practice enough to be able to like play these songs start to finish. But I suppose we went in that for Humbug with less complete ideas and more open to experimenting a bit. And yeah, so we did a bit of that where sometimes we'll do it with like the V drum cymbals and then acoustic kit and then sort of swap it around. So then you can like process everything separately a bit more. But I mean, there was only a couple of times we did that, but even we'd record the way like he'd affect drums. Some of it I don't even know, and like I listen to it and I'm like, I don't know how he got that sound or like what exactly he did to get that sound. And it's almost like the more I've got interested in that, I wish I could go back and pay more attention to where the microphones were and what like everything was going through. Because now that I'm trying to do some of that myself, it's just like I had like a front row seat to all this knowledge that I sort of like
didn't take any notice.
Pay attention to then, yeah.
Yeah, there's this famous story with Jimmy Page has got all the blueprints of all the original Zeppelin albums, where the kits were, even to the extent, I know people that have worked with him years later trying to reproduce stuff, and even to the extent the light that would be coming through the windows, the candles, everything.
The full mood.
Yeah, exactly. He's almost like God, he wants to reduplicate all that stuff that happened then. How did the obviously through Josh, tell people about the Iggy Pop gig and how that came about?
Well, he I think Josh had got the call from Iggy, and it was like, for him that was a massive thing as well. Like Josh he's been like Iggy's been his hero since he was a teenager, and just, you know, like he was asked to write a bit and produce a new record for him. Like it was going to be a solo record, a new Iggy Pop solo record, and Iggy had asked him to put a band together for it. And I think Josh didn't want it to just be like Queens of the Stone Age featuring Iggy. I mean, that would have been like great and an easy way of doing it as well. But I think it was an opportunity for him to do something different. And he's no stranger to obviously collaborating with like Desert Sessions and all that stuff. So it was another. So then when he called me, he was like, he just said, I'm putting a band together for a new Iggy Pop record. And he was like, do you want to be the drummer? And I was just like, well, I like, you know, as you can imagine, I was sort of like surprised a bit and just, again, over the moon. And he and then he like told me like the other people that were involved, and that at that stage it was only going to be me, Josh and Dean from Queens and Dead Weather and all that, and Iggy obviously. So when we did the recording part of it, was just us, and we did a little bit just the three of us without Iggy, and then he came over and we did it all. We did a lot of it all together. Did a bit more in the desert as well, and at that point we didn't even really know if we'd go on tour either, because from the conversation, from him asking me, it was still another year until we recorded it. Just like getting everything together and waiting. The Queens were still on tour and we were still on tour, so it was just more of a, do you want to do this at some point? And then we were just waiting to do it. So, and even like I say, even when we recorded it, we we didn't necessarily think that we'd get to go on tour or like do that, because it's you know, negotiating everybody's like schedule and all that.
Yeah. Okay. And another one was P. Diddy. I mean, how did that come about?
Yeah, that was that one. I don't know how to say that. Oh, I met him at when we did like the second part of Humbug. We did because we did some with Josh and then we did some with James Ford, who we like worked with on everything basically. And James he had like a DJ gig with Simi Mobile Disco in Miami at that like dance music festival. And so we were having a weekend off, and we were recording in New York, and he was going to fly to Miami for the weekend. And everyone was having the weekend off, and I just went with him. Like the band stayed in New York, and I think their girlfriends were visiting at the time, and I went to Miami with James. And James was like, "I'm DJing P. Diddy's like party for his vodka company or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, great." And it all was a bit of a joke, because I used to do their tour diaries that we used to do on our website. And there was one where P. Diddy did like a similar thing, and it looked like he'd copied mine, and I was obviously joking. So we did like this split screen thing where I'm like, he ripped me off and I'm going to go and confront him about it. And I was just pretending I was going to Miami to confront him about this thing. And then it ended up that like James DJ'd his party, and we went to his house, and he introduced me to him. And he knew like, he mentioned like one of our B-sides or something, and knew that I did backing vocals. And I was like, because I thought he was just being nice and be like, yeah, of course, Arctic Monkeys. But it turned out he did know something about us. And so then, yeah, I don't know, we sparked some kind of relationship somehow. And then a few months later, I was in England, and he asked me if I wanted to just sit in on Jonathan Ross for this song he'd done. And that was weird, because I'd never played to playback or a click. And I knew it was going to be that. And I was just a bit like, this is going to be a bit difficult probably, or just a different thing for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a strange period of my life, definitely.
Okay, so we're gonna take it to 8 years ago now, which is absolutely bizarre that this happened, and we both didn't know we each of us were going to be doing the Olympics opening ceremony. I was told by accident by Danny Boyle that he'd been out to Joshua Tree to meet a band, and obviously I knew you were at Joshua Tree.
He let it slip a bit,
yeah, he let it slip, and obviously I think I contacted you and said, "Are you doing the opening ceremony?" He's like, "Why are you?" We all had to keep it secret.
I'm not allowed to tell you.
No one was allowed to know. But tell everyone this story, because Danny Boyle came out to see you guys, didn't he, to ask you to do it? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it was. It was a thing that was like probably. Technically, it was bad timing for us, and if it had been anything less than the Olympic opening ceremony, we probably would have said no. You know, it was like it didn't like necessarily interrupt things, but it sort of. I remember in terms of what else we were doing, it meant like changing a few things, and thinking like, well, we're not going to get an opportunity like this before again. You know, it's like, so he came out and he told us a bit about it, and because of the way he is. I suppose as a director, I think he saw it as an opportunity to have something that's like a bit raw and what usually is a very slick thing, like the opening ceremony at Olympics, obviously. And we experienced a bit of that, and we had to sort of like push back a bit against some of that. I'm sure you probably did in a way as well. Of like, like even for us, even like not wanting to do again like the click. Because they wanted to synchronize everything, obviously, and I understand now. But like the fireworks had to be going off at certain times, and we had to have like a playback version of it in case something went wrong, so they didn't have to interrupt. I think that someone told us that like the only way they'll stop it is if someone dies.
Yeah, that's right. It couldn't stop. It wasn't allowed to stop.
Like if I drop a stick or the guitar breaks, it's like you just got to pretend and carry on. So we didn't want to do that, but I don't know. I probably said, all right, I promise we won't die.
Yeah.
Like, can we just not do a click and not do the playback? Because we didn't want to obviously mime. I don't know. We didn't go all that way just to like pretend.
No.
But then again, it was just in case it went wrong. So we ended up doing it properly live. And he asked us, I think, because again, he wanted to have like a bit of rough amongst this like slick ceremony thing.
Yeah, which is exactly what they got. I mean, obviously, it's not a secret anymore, but Paul McCartney actually made a mistake in.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for their drummer, if it wasn't for Abel Boyle putting him back in, that would have been out by a beat all the way through. But anyway, but it was bizarre that we were both on it, and it was great. I mean, the great thing about Danny Boyle, obviously, is he's a huge fan of music. He was a huge fan of you. The scene that he had you set up in, I thought was just perfect. So what are you currently working on, you personally?
Personally, I'm nothing with any sort of like purpose, but I've got the setup I've got downstairs is like, I've got drums and then I've got like synths and stuff, and I sort of like make music that sounds like it should be in horror films. So maybe they'll find a home at some point. But it's all practice to me. It's just like, I hadn't done like much recording of myself before, and even since doing this, even in a couple of weeks, I really started to appreciate improvements in things. Like, I think I just used to rely on, I don't know, talent or live, like I rely on adrenaline a lot. And now I think I'm more, as a drummer, I think I'm more seeing the importance of actually like working on things and improving things, which is probably the kind of thing you want to hear. But because before, I know whenever I've done like Rhythm magazine and stuff, I always remember saying like, I don't know how to tell you this, it's not a great example, but I never practice, and I just like, not on my own. Like I never had drums at home. I never like played on my own, but now I'm sort of like enjoying that side of things, and like noticing things get better, and it's, you know.
So you've got a kit obviously at the house now.
Yeah.
And are you recording the kit as well then, or you just?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I've got like a thing where I'm getting into all that as well a bit more, and I have done that before. It's just that I'm sort of like paying more attention to it now because I've got the time and freedom to just like be there for a few hours a day, just like getting it better and better.
Oh, I like to hear this. Yeah. This is good. This is good. Listen, Matt, thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you.
And I do honestly, I'm very grateful that you've never done one of these before. Yeah. You're up for doing it. I know by looking at the numbers at the top here, this has been very, very popular. It will stay up for 24 hours. So I don't know if you want to say anything before I say goodbye to you. If you want to say anything to the people out there or whatever.
I've got no particular message. Just keep washing your hands.
Yeah, there you go. keep washing your hands. Yeah. Well, it's been really good, and like I said before, there's nothing we can do about this. We all know how serious it is, but we can spend the time. We're never going to get this time back.
Exactly. That's what I'm doing. I'm making the most of that, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Matt, thank you very much. Stay safe. I will be in touch. But for now, thank you very much.
The last one, even though